You are now listening to The Perfect Prana with Kyah Ann. What's poppin'? What's good? You're listening to The Perfect Prana show on 88.1 FM WCRX, also available on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, where I post extended versions. I'm Kyah Ann, your host and a yoga enthusiast on the Chicago scene. And if you love yoga, this is the perfect place to be. And if you do not love yoga, this is still the perfect place to be, because I have the usual up for you all today between the yoga news, where I talk about what's going on in the world and how it relates to yoga, Yoga Hills, where I bring on a very special guest and talk to them about their practice, and the weekly wellness challenge, where I've been following the 8 limbs of yoga. But before we get into all of that, let's center ourselves. Let's take this moment to go inward, to focus on our prana. Prana, translating to breath, is in the breath of life, our life energy source, our life energy force. There's a few translations, but no matter what you're doing, you're sitting at the desk, you're sitting in a chair, you're driving in a car, you're sitting on the couch, you're laying in the bed, you're walking in the park, just take this moment to lengthen out your spine. Create a nice line of energy from your tailbone to your crown so breath can effortlessly move through you. Start to notice your breath and what it's doing naturally, and just know that you can always come back to this. And begin pushing out all of your breath, leaving no breath behind, so you can start a new breath cycle with me. Inhale through your nose to fill up your belly like a balloon, and hold at the top. And then exhale, let out a sigh. Pull your belly button in, deflating your belly, and hold at the bottom. Inhale through your nose, into your belly, past your rib cage, all the way up to your collarbone, and hold. And exhale, letting out that sigh, pushing out all the air, expelling what you do not need. Inhale through your nose to fill all the way up, letting stillness wash over your body and just feeling your belly rise, and hold. And then exhale, pushing out all the air, no breath left behind. And one more time, take a deep inhale through your nose and let the breath travel to any place in your body that needs attention and nourishment. And then exhale, let out that sigh, expelling all the breath, relieving whatever tension, negativity that you do not need. Let your breath come back to a steady rhythm. And let's get on with the show. Yoga news. This week's yoga news. New lawsuit claims Poppy's prebiotic claims are false. Poppy built a following by claiming that the drink will help you be gut happy, be gut healthy, thanks to prebiotics. So basically, Poppy is a prebiotic soda company. They were actually on Shark Tank, and they've been rising to popularity because it's supposed to be gut healthy, which gut health is the new trend these days. Currently, they have a $100 million revenue in the last year, and they're on the rise. But there has been a lawsuit filed against them because people have realized it only contains 2 grams of prebiotic, which means you would need at least 4 cans a day to see any gut benefit at all. And then on top of that, all the sugar in it contradicts whatever health gains that there are. The company, Poppy, said that this suit is baseless. So we'll have to see how things turn out, if they're actually able to fight this. But I wanted to talk about this. I am a gut health girly. I'm all about the gut health. I'm a health girly in general. That's my whole thing. And what can I drink? What can I eat to be healthier? What can I not eat? What can I stay away from to be healthier? What can I do to be healthier? That is all very important. I love that everybody is moving in that direction, but I think it is important that truth prevails. I am tired of companies preying on us. And it's not just poppies, and who knows, maybe their stuff really is gut healthy. It hasn't been proven. Is it though? But it's not just poppy. It's other companies too. I am so sick of brands health washing themselves and making them seem way healthier than they actually are. Like, it's annoying. There's nothing that makes me more upset than something that is disguised as healthy. Like, oh my God. And then it's just sad because so many people fall for this marketing, and like the falsehoods, they need to be shown. They need to come out. Like, we need to see what's really true. And the truth is, there are a lot of ways to get probiotics and prebiotics in your diet without these new fancy drinks and products that, again, it's just disguised as healthy. It's just BS in a can. Like, come on. I mean, I'm not gonna slander them too hard, but it's not just Poppy doing that. It's a lot of brands doing that, and I'm ready for a change. Because we need to know what's actually going to help us and improve our lives and make us healthier. Next, today, June 8th, is National Best Friends Day. Friends are important. Relationships are important. To me, good relationships make life worth living. And there's just so many people, so you can have infinite good relationships with as many people as there are in the world. And then, like, you can even have a good relationship with yourself, which is almost infinite. I guess to the end of your time, you could always have a good relationship with yourself. It's like, good relationships make life worth living. And I think Best Friends Day is a day worth celebrating. It's a time period where a lot of people are lonely. So it is important to cherish the friends and relationships that you do have, especially as you get older, you leave school, maybe some people work from home, or you're just not in the setting to build strong connections like you were when you were younger. So cherish the friends that you have. A wise woman once told me, yoga friends are the best friends. So it's always good to be able to practice yoga with a friend. Hit up a friend, say, hey, let's go to a yoga class, or let's do some yoga together. Even if you don't do yoga, do some wellness activity together where you work out, or just some shared struggle together. It's always so rewarding to be able to accomplish something with a friend. Like, wow, we really just went on this super long walk, or we just got through this practice and we're both sweating together. Like, some friends, some communities fast together. There's just a lot of different things that you could do with your friend to really celebrate your friendship and to just go through something together, conquer something together. Friends are important. Next, so back to this whole San Diego chaos. San Diego is still coming down super hard on beachfront yoga. Of course, the Californian yogis have been peacefully protesting by doing their yoga regardless of the rules. They still are going to the beach, doing their classes and pushing against the grain. On Sunday, Namasteve, one of the teachers, he was actually detained by the park rangers. They were trying to give him a ticket and he refused to sign, because he's like, if I sign that, I'm basically giving up my right to assemble and all that jazz. Anyways, it looks like it will lead to legal trouble. If you want to hear my opinion on that, which I'm sure you know what my opinion is, You can listen to the last episode, but I was just giving y'all an update. They're still going hard. They're still fighting, but I really appreciate them for approaching this in a very yogic way, if you will. Like, this is ahimsa, this is nonviolence. Like, there's injustice, but I'm going to react with peace, but I'm still gonna try to disrupt this injustice. And that's beautiful. Good for them. Yoga Hills. This week's guest is Jeremy Carlson. He's a fitness trainer, a power yoga instructor, and the lead flexologist at the Stretch Lab. He has a passion for physical and mental longevity and help. Of course, I actually met him at my job, and I was like, duh, be on my show. A fellow yoga instructor and a stretch practitioner or flexologist. Man, he's been practicing yoga for quite some time, and he has a wealth of knowledge, so let's just get on with the interview. First, I'd like to say thank you, Jeremy, for coming onto the Perfect Prana show. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yay, I'm so excited. So the first thing that I ask every single guest when they come on the show is, when did you start practicing yoga? Why do you still practice yoga today?
So I started a little bit after college. So 2016, I was working in a gym, and I was really into weightlifting, cardio, cycling, and I never had really experienced yoga before. And there was a teacher, an instructor. She was a 500-hour instructor, really good. That I just popped into one of her classes, got a feel for it. It kind of just brought me to that place that you feel that serenity with the music. At the time, I definitely I needed some stretching, just getting in there and getting a feel for the asanas, and the flow was really cool. So from there, started picking up some classes at that gym. Didn't really have formal training at that point, and it kind of bit me a little bit later. I taught a class at a gym I was at a little later on, and I ended up teaching the whole class with my eyes closed, which was not, most teachers would know, not great, because you have to have eyes on, communication with the student. And so I definitely, at that point, I knew I needed to get into more formal training. I looked into some vinyasa, some power flow, and I went into my teacher training at Core Power. And that was one of the toughest things I've ever done in my life, going from no yoga to, pretty much studying it nonstop, a few months of rigor. But, I ended up getting addicted to it. And one of the cool things about yoga I started to learn is that it's multifaceted. So get your strength, your cardio, your flexibility, your improved range of motion, your balance, spatial awareness. So all those are kind of embedded in a practice. The emotional release too. So that's physical, like going through the asanas. I find that nice for the flexibility. I think everyone should really consider it. It's something that, if you're consistent with, you'll definitely see the benefits from it. And then, the emotional side of it, just the breathing, excellent. So you just relax your body, focus on those pranayamas, the grounding aspect of it, so important in everyday life. So, I'd recommend yoga to, anybody, as Kyah. And then the visual benefits. So part of why I still practice, but I'm addicted to it still. It's been going 8-9 years now since I started, and you just feel good. You look good, but that's kind of a secondary part of it. The core of it is really just finding that drive, that that reaching for longevity. For me, that's really it. Just knowing that this is good for you, it makes you feel good, and continue to do that on a day-to-day basis is excellent. And the overall convenience of it, I mean, if you were trying to sell it to somebody, it's there for you whenever you need it. it's easy to touch. You can just roll that mat out and start your practice. And it's also affordable. So if you don't need a whole lot to get involved with it, and that's part of the reason why I still use it. And yeah, just you're really connecting that your mind and your body. For me, it's easier to do on a consistent basis on the mat than to do it in a gym where you're, walking up to that bar or you're getting on that treadmill and you have to get over those mental hurdles to get the best workout you can.
Man, that was loaded. You touched on a few things, sparked a few thoughts in me. First, I want to say was definitely somebody where I close my eyes a lot while I'm teaching a class. I find myself doing it less now, and I won't do it the whole way because I don't know how you did it like the entire way. That's crazy. But I will say, like, it's something about anxiety. I don't know. Sometimes I just have to close my eyes when I'm teaching because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people. But it is so
Right.
important to be able to open your eyes and look around at people. So, and you have to see what they're doing to yield to like, hey, well, try this instead, or
Yes, or catch them if they're not doing something safe.
true.
So that knees are important, and if they're in a pigeon or something where their knee can go in the wrong direction or tree, that's something you probably want to catch. So yeah, I was not in the best place after that class. I'll just say that, and I definitely needed to change up my thing. So
Wait, so I'm sorry, I didn't catch this before, but how did you end up teaching that class before? Like, did you do training before that or?
it was I had worked with like an in-house, like the instructor I initially uh I had gone to her class, and I learned a little bit from her. I didn't pick up on the whole eyes open thing. So but yeah, it was just another gym uh connected to the one I learned at, where I started teaching. And yeah, it was a learning experience, to say the least. So
They were like, "Oh, we don't care, just come and teach," basically.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. And a lot of the students in the class were like, what, like they had been to other classes, teachers that knew a little bit more about the eyes. So yeah, it's all good though. It's all good.
yeah, I mean, no, I was just gonna say, I will say it is different, like, learn taking a yoga class or, like, learning yoga is different than, like, learning to teach yoga, and it learning to teach really helped take my practice to the next level. Because then it's like, "Okay, when I have to describe this in other bodies, now I have to, like, really think about it in my body," and it just
Right.
changed the relationship a little bit with how I perceive cues and how I give cues and whatnot.
Exactly. Yes, you really feel it. Once you teach, and like you were saying, the other way around as well. You pick up on those small details in each asana, even if it's related to your pranayama. You kind of settle in a little bit more. You know that, okay, you can start to feel that you're not in the right position. You adjust, like your hips or your shoulders. You stand up a little bit taller. So it's really, it's great to know what you're doing while you're doing it. And it's really something I've carried on from the teacher training. Um, so I taught for, let's say, 3 years. Like, I've continued my self practice, but I'm kind of on a little hiatus from teaching right now, instructing. But you really do. You're more in tune with it, with your own body. After learning and all you have to absorb during the teacher training. So
So I wanted to talk more about your core power training. What was that like? I know that they're kind of corporate. So did you ever end up working for core power? And then do you have a preference for like the kind of yoga class that you like to take versus gyms, studios, corporate studios or
Yes. Yes. So the core power training, it was excellent. I would, based on what I did, would definitely recommend it. The first part of it was getting familiar with kind of the mental side, like all the terminology, with yoga, a little bit more of like a walkthrough stage. And then, you're learning about all the 8 limbs and body positioning. A lot of students that go into it. Like I was lucky and I had a background in exercise science going into it with my degree, but it's hard when you're not familiar with a lot of that terminology, and it's just another thing you have to stack onto the yoga terms. So like there are two different sides of it. So yeah, it was once you get to that first part, the second part was intense, getting all the hours. You have to get a certain number of hours in your classes. So when you're doing that, you're going to other studios to get those hours. You're doing in-house, you're doing sculpt, you're doing cycle. um I never did cycle, but yeah, the sculpt was huge, and then working those the mid tier, the intermediate classes. Those are really important to kind of help push you. And we talked about the other day. We talked about ego, and I think that is something to be aware of if you're pushing for a more advanced class. Just take care of your body, and make sure you're not putting your body in position that's going to get hurt, because that's happened to me before, and it really it sucks, because your practice is going to fall off quite a bit if that happens. So you just take care of yourself. But yeah, I was in the best shape of my life after that stretch of classes. So it was a very good experience. I would definitely recommend it to anyone who's interested in starting their teacher journey.
yeah. So from my understanding, they included more than just yoga. It was like different fitness modalities or
Yeah, so it's all about the number of credits you can pick up. So you can go do a sculpt class. We're using dumbbells. So you're just flowing through the poses with those. It's instructed a little bit differently, in more of a compact style of yoga. But you're adding, burpees and, star jacks, all the plyometrics. So it is a nice mix up if you need that in your routine. But you do foundationally, you're starting, with your intention, and you're ending with, your namaste. So it's cool. It's really cool.
well, that is a different take on a teacher training that I'm just interested in like hearing about other people's experience with teacher training. So I wanted to get more into, I see that you're really driven toward the wellness industry, the fitness industry, and that's just something really important to you. What drove you to that?
Right now I'm, working with, Stretch Lab. It's something that I think it kind of ties into yoga for me. Like with what I'm doing here, it's all about longevity and taking care of your body, preserving your body in a way that you'll be able to do the things you love to do for a long time. Whether you're just walking around, or you're riding a bike, you just want to you go about your daily activities, just stretching, keeping your joints well supported, um, your muscles nice and strong is great. And I see, after a while, I see, people start to, their mood starts to lighten up just from just being in with working with me with, either yoga or stretching. It's fantastic. It's really why I do it. Because, just to see other people have that joy, um, in everyday life is so cool. I definitely see a link, between some of the stretching I do now and then kind of transitioning into like a yoga practice. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Wait, so was fitness and wellness something that kind of came natural to you, and were you always interested in it?
Yeah, so it's been I was an athlete, through high school, college. I rode crew in college. Then I worked a little bit with college athletes with my degree and everything. So in a way, it started off with more fitness. I transitioned it more into the health wellness once I got out of school with one of my jobs. I started to see the benefits of that. So just the stress management side of it is really important to me. Being mindful, just the toll that stress takes on your body is really devastating. So just being able to manage that is crucial for life, for success. So that's a little bit of why I got into it.
It is so important. I'm always just curious about what leads people down this path, because it really is a path of service. And it's a necessary path too, because it's just in this world, like we need, as many people as possible kind of living by example, taking care of their health, and just being that example and helping us take care of our health. Because there's we got a lot of things going against us in that department. And it's just, what we might think, well, that's like basic knowledge. A lot of it isn't. Like a lot of people don't know how to manage stress, how to manage their health, things that they could do to better take care of themselves. Even with stretching, it's so easy to be like, okay, I'm going to stretch and not know what to do. And I was kind of like that before pre yoga, where I'm like, I don't even know what to do. Like, stretch, like, okay, touch
Yeah,
my toes. Like,
yeah, yeah.
I want to get more into your philosophy, your life advice, something you hold close to your heart or keep in the forefront of your mind.
In terms of yoga, in terms of my practice, in terms of what it does for me, and what it can do for others, having that daily practice, and this could go along with having a daily workout routine, is very important. It really irons out all those, that emotional roller coaster that is life. Every time you reach that mat, uh, that you just have to show up. You just have to show up, start your breath, start wherever you're going to start for that day. For me, it's usually child's pose. You just start breathing. Sometimes your breath is going to change. Sometimes you need to build that heat. You need to use that ujjayi. Sometimes you release heat, use your open mouth exhales, but just getting your body in a position where you can challenge yourself, know that being on your mat is only going to make you feel better and help you move along. So I think part of that is it's what I'm doing now with the assisted stretching, PNF stretching, really teaching people when I can that they can foundationally start here and then they can progress into whatever they're looking to do. So it's, that's kind of where I'm at now. Yoga is great, but I think also having just something a little bit more so yoga can be a little bit intimidating for the average Joe or Jane. So having the PNF stretching and kind of that bridge, that avenue for someone to go down to maybe jump into a class and or Pilates or like I said, cycling is great. One other thing I would mention is, so growing up, I was an athlete, played football, I wrestled and ran track. If I had yoga during that time, when I was, in my teens, I think it would have helped me a lot more, reach my goals a little bit easier. Just having the overall strengthening the flexibility, the mobility, the range of motion, improved range of motion, especially when you're in the gym lifting, and your posture, all that really really important. So it's great. And then the final thing would be taking your practice to that consistent level, providing yourself with that closed space, so that offline state, so getting away from the phone, the TV, and just focusing on you is really important. Whether you need to do that on your own or you have to leave wherever you're at and go to a class. But yeah, just having that space for yourself really will make a difference in your life. So, and I've felt that.
Yeah. Oh, you know what's so funny when you said if I had yoga when I was an athlete in high school, you said like you played football. I thought you were about to say if I had yoga when I was an athlete, then I would have been in the NFL. And I was
Yeah,
like, whoa, what
maybe,
a set.
maybe. Yeah, yeah,
But it is true. It really just having that mobility training, kind of just that physical therapy movements is so important for whatever activity you want to do. And when you really think about it, all the high level successful people that we're looking at and admiring, most of them have that mobility training and again like
yes,
the physical therapy movements. They have trainers and people guiding them on how to keep their range of motion, how to keep this area open enough and this area strengthened enough, the
yeah.
breathing exercises, they have all that stuff. So but we need it, us average people, we need it too. So
Well, they're actually. It's interesting, Kaya. They're doing that more and more in the NFL and other professional leagues where they're incorporating a yoga practice for all the players. Like they have instructors that will take the players through a practice through the asanas, working on, because there's so much, not only physical demand at that level, but emotional and mental strain to be great, to do better. So it's again, it really it reaches everybody in some way.
I wonder if it was, because I know that the yoga is becoming more of a newer thing where I've heard more athletes coming out say, yeah, I started doing yoga. I started practicing yoga or going to these yoga classes, or they'll have their coaches encourage them to do that. But, they had to be doing some type of like mobility, probably chiropractor,
Yes, yeah,
physical therapy before, but it might have been the thing like, "Oh, well, yoga encompasses all of this, so you might as well just do this."
that's true. Yes, and it really does. I mean, you're with the flow that yoga provides, where you're moving through, really a lunge to a deeper lunge, the balancing portion. So you're going for that lunge to, on one foot. That's very much like change of direction. It translates. It really does. So, even some of a couple athletes at work now, I'm like, hey, why not try some yoga? Let's do it. Younger, like kids and their teens, high schoolers. But yeah, it's great. I really wish I I picked it up back then.
When you think about it, all the movements in the gym are yoga movements just with weights, It's
Mm,
lunges, it's squats, it's having
yeah,
your heads up over overhead press or,
yeah.
there's just a lot of movements that I see weightlifters do. I'm like, that's a yoga move. Just added load.
Yes. And, a lot of it is great. A lot of it, you do get a lot of it with yoga, but I will say this, that it's not all encompassing. Yoga is not all encompassing. There are still some lifts that, or, even movements that, like a pull up, for instance, and that's really hard to do in yoga. Like the closest, some of the binds you can get potentially can help you there. But, yeah, that's something that you need to get to a pull up bar or a gym and work on that. But it pretty good though overall, in terms of the push and the strengthening of the spine, spinal mobility. It's all very functional.
We were talking about that. Like, where is the grip strength in yoga? There really isn't a lot of
Right.
it. There are a few things you can do, but nothing that compares to holding yourself up on a bar. There's something else I was going to ask you. I understand that you've been practicing yoga for almost a decade.
Yes.
So, of course, you've gone through changes. How has your relationship with yoga changed in this span of time?
Definitely a lot of ups and downs in in the practice. Uh, I'd be lying if I said I was at my mat every single day. For me, I'm always drawn back to my mat for it's not always the same reason. So sometimes it's, you know, more I want to really sweat today, or I need to get, some core strength, or I need, more flexibility in my hamstrings. I feel tight in my back. I'm gonna do a supine twist. I've had a long day. I need to, take a few deep breaths, lay in shavasana for a while. It hasn't been smooth for me, in terms of just building. It's been up and down, in terms, physically, my overall strength has gone up and down with it, but I know it's there when I need it. Yeah, I've done a lot of traveling. I had a job that required me to travel a lot, and it was like fantastic for that. I would do it on the road when I could, and it's just something that's kind of been in my front pocket that I can go to when I really need it.
I mean, there is ebbs and flows with the practice. You said,
Yeah, yeah,
I
uh,
thought,
yeah,
one point it was like I'm on my mat every single day, but then I've gone to like, well, dang, I missed a day, or I missed this and I couldn't really get on my mat and do anything, or, you know, um, but I think it is important to remember, like you said, it's always there. I can always just roll out a mat. I don't even have to roll out a mat. I can just get on a floor
not
that's
for
soft
you.
enough and do something. There's
Sure.
always something.
How's that floating going?
Oh, yeah. That's exactly what I was about to ask you. I was going to ask you what you are working on within your practice right now. But you know me, of course, I'm working on floating. How's it going? It's, it is what it is.
Yeah,
I'm still, it's still a work in progress. It really is the upper body strength and core and compression, like just working on those things together. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, I have a long way to go, but whatever.
we'll get there.
The other day I was literally making dinner and I was making my broth, and my dad got me an Instapot. So I was using my Instapot, and you put the lid on and it locks. And I'm the type of person, like when I make something in a pot, I'm like or even I do this in the oven. It's a terrible habit, but every time I walk by the pot, I just have the strong urge to open it up, look in it. Same with the oven, something's baking. I'm like, oh, I want to see what it's doing. I open the oven and I look in it. So I kind of was like, okay, it was just such a mental game for me to be like, I can't open this Instapot right now. Like it's locked shut. There's too much pressure in it. Like I just have to trust that I put everything
Yeah,
necessary in the pot and just let it cook. And that if I keep checking, I might delay the process. So just let it cook.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, just gotta go with the what you have. You can't do any more, any less. Yeah, you can definitely apply that to life. Yeah, and actually apply it to even your yoga. Especially when you're going to a class or something like that. Class, just focus on yourself. Right? You don't want to look around you. You don't. It's just. I mean, you might be in awe of what somebody else is doing, or you might feel better because you're doing something more advanced than someone else. But really, you're going to get the most benefit from your practice, focusing on yourself for that day. That time lost focusing on someone else is time lost. Like you're not going to get that back. So focus on you. You'll get that much better if you give yourself that entire however long your class is.
I personally, I cannot. I try my hardest to go to a yoga class and purely just be like, I'm not going to look at anybody else. But just the urge inside of me, I will break it. I will end up looking at somebody else. But I just try to have the self awareness to be like, let me not think about it too much. I might be like, whoa, or
Right.
you might get those feelings like, oh, I'm better. Like, but I try to let it pass though. And
Right.
again, like, if you compare yourself, you're going to lose no matter what. You'll, you're
Mm-hmm.
not getting better if you're better than them and you're not. And then, like, if they're better than you, then, that's a loss. So it's just kind of like, I try to just be like, if it happens, let it pass. Just
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm a human. Of course, I looked at them and it was natural
It's
for me to
it's
compare
so hard
myself,
though.
but
It's so hard. It
the
really is.
challenge, yes.
Like everyone's so distracted now with their phones and technology. Like ADD is a big thing. So definitely hard to do.
But wait, so what are you working on in your practice? And it could be like a specific movement or, a specific posture, or it could just be some type of mental aspect.
For me, it's right now I'm challenging myself to smooth out my flow, and more so when I'm moving through my warrior poses, um, just bringing your my feet in the right position, like not shifting too much, um, just going to where I want to go, and not you know making it more effortless. And I know it's something that's going to improve, and the more I challenge myself with it. Um, but yeah, just finding that range of motion, um, and then also the float. I'm in the same boat with you. I'm working on getting my core strength up. Working on my jumps, my handstands. It'd be cool to do like crow to handstand. It's something I'm working on. So yeah, just providing myself a little bit more plyometric based flow is what I'm doing. It's going pretty well. So I'm seeing some good progress.
It's about the transitions. It's all
Yeah.
about
Oh,
can
really?
you can you transition gracefully? It is
Right.
an important aspect in life. One of the last, little things I wanted to ask you about I know you've studied the 8 limbs of yoga and was following it. I've been following it for my show for the weekly wellness challenge. And when I got to the end, I'm like, okay, so basically, it's just kind of like something that you have to recycle and keep going through. We're still living life, so we're kind of faced with these obstacles every day of where we have to be more mindful of this or making sure that we're being peaceful and that we're not in being overindulgent and just all these aspects of the 8 limbs of yoga. Is there a specific limb or, a yama, niyama, or something within the 8 limbs that you find that you've kept coming back to or having to recycle throughout your practice?
Yes. So just recently, so pratyahara, being present, that withdrawing of your senses and just being present within yourself, is something I've really started to focus on. It's just important for me, focusing on my breath, because the breath will guide you to your next asana. It'll allow you to reach a little bit further. So they're physical, and then your emotional benefit as well. Just releasing all the toxins, all the all the stress, strain that's built up in your, your joints as you're flowing. So it's just another stack I'm beginning to add to my practice.
It's easy to be, not present, to be mindless doing some yoga postures. Like, I could just do this mindlessly, but there are different things in yoga where I'm like, man, I really have to focus to do this, or,
Yeah.
things with the balancing, you might have to, you find yourself like, I have to focus more to really execute this and to get anywhere at all. So,
Like
um,
pose, that's one where you really have to focus on a number of things because it's such a long pose where you're really going from ground out, in front of you. So it's all the way up and down your spine, out your front arm. So just that spinal flexion is very important.
wait, and then what pose did you say?
Dancers.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah, that's a tough one. Those
Nothing-
standing back bends.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Jeremy. It's been a wonderful yogic
Yeah,
conversation.
thanks for having me.
Well, I really appreciate you being here, kind of diversifying it because,
Yeah,
again, mostly in the yoga world, at least in America, it's mostly women. So
mm,
therefore, on my show, it's mostly women. And every once in a while, you get a male perspective and just like, just shifting things a little bit. Like
yeah,
yoga is for everybody.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, happy to be on. Happy to share my side of it.
Okay, so before we go, I'm going to ask you to lead us through a quick pranayama for the radio.
So I'm going to lead you guys through the Ujjayi Pranayama. It's one I, very familiar with from my training. So this is a way to build your heat during your practice. All you do is, you breathe in through your nose for about 4 seconds. I want you to constrict the back of your throat as you breathe. So you'll hear a little bit of a like an oceanic sound or like a light snoring sound. That's what we're looking for. So it's just breathe into the deeper part of your throat, constricted. So you inhale for 4 seconds and then exhale out your nose for another 4. And one more time, inhale, hear the oceanic sound as you breathe. Exhale out your nose. And namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Jeremy. You're listening to the Perfect Prana Show on 88.1 FM WCRX, Saturdays at 10 a.m., Sundays at 9 a.m., also available on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, where I post extended versions. If you're in the Chicago area and would like to come practice yoga with me, visit me at LA Fitness on King Drive, Wednesdays at 9:45 a.m., Saturdays at 11 a.m. Weekly Wellness Challenge. Last week's challenge, Ahimsa, non-violence, and I challenged you all and myself to do something to kind of contradict violence, which helps somebody do something, a noble act, and journal about it. What did I do this week? Did I help anybody? Did I contradict violence? I feel like I help people every single week. Like, I've put myself in the position where I'm constantly having to help people, but I always feel like I don't help enough. I always feel like there's way more help that I could give. I could be even more helpful to those around me, whether I know them or don't know them. And that's just something that I'm always going through. Like, man, I could help more. And yeah, I did do a little short journaling about it, but that's because I kind of gained a different perspective of ahimsa. I mean, there's just so many ways and scales to think about the 8 limbs of yoga. It's hard sometimes to put these limbs into practice when you're not in situations where they need to be put into practice. I feel like life will face me with the circumstances where I have to make the best decision of like, oh, let me do this or let me not react this way, versus, like, oh, this is a challenge. It's hard to think of like, what are exercises, or things that I could do to practice ahimsa, or, I have to think about that sometimes. But the new perspective I gained is that ahimsa is not just like, it's not the absence of violence. It's being peaceful and promoting peace even when there's injustice. So can you like peacefully disrupt injustice, how the yogis are doing in San Diego, when the circumstance arises, but I'm not gonna tell you, and I know I'm not about to look for injustice around me to peacefully disrupt it. And if I'm being honest, like any negativity, any injustice or whatever I've experienced this week has been from within. So I guess I tried my best to peacefully disrupt that from within and like, okay, yeah, I realized this about myself, or I had all these negative thoughts, or I went through this, or whatever the case is, but I'm not about to like punish myself and like do something violent to myself because of XYZ. So I don't know, but that was a different take on ahimsa that I came across on Instagram. When the situation arises, though, I will be peaceful irregardless. I try my best to be diplomatic in all situations, and I do definitely reflect on times where that wasn't the case and I cringe, like, ugh, why would I react like that? That wasn't the best, but I'm learning every day. This week's challenge: Satya, honesty, truthfulness. What are we going to do to practice honesty and truthfulness? I can't even remember what we did. It is important that we're committed to truth. Again, with the whole Poppy lawsuit, with the prebiotic soda, we need to expose the truth. We need to know the truth. The truth will set us free. The truth always prevails. If something's truly working, then it'll show. If people are truly getting all these health gains from drinking Poppy, then that'll show. But if they're not, then that'll show. So this week's challenge, I challenge myself and I challenge everybody. So if you do not have one, I challenge you to get a journal. And I'm always doing a journal challenge, and it is so important to have in order to practice truthfulness and honesty, because where else can you be the most honest? Where else? There's no other space where you can be as honest besides within your own private writings. I hope nobody reads my journal because that's such an invasion. But, I will say I'm the most candid within my journal. And that's the challenge. So for me, the challenge is I need to get a new journal because my journal is running out. My journal is getting to the end of it. So I want a nice, new, fresh journal for this nice, new, fresh era of life. But that's the challenge this week because, again, there's no other place where you can be as candid and as open besides in your journal, besides in your own private writings. And a journal is designated for your candid, honest, open, clear thoughts. You know, you could put it in your phone, you could put it in a laptop, you could put it, I don't know, on an electronic device, but your electronic device is more for than your honest, open, candid thoughts for your keeping. A journal, it is tangible, it's lasting, unless you throw it away or it catches on fire, you somehow ruin it. But yeah, and then it's designated just for your own private thoughts. Before I go, let me leave you with a quote. You know, I take inspiration for everything, you know, and it could be like the most silliest or the most profound quote, whatever. But this week's quote, I actually wrote this down last night because I was watching Degrassi, and yes, I was watching Degrassi, and you're not going to talk about me. I don't care who thinks what. Yes, I'm rewatching Degrassi right now, okay? And it's been my thing, and I love it. But she said in her graduation speech, it's only a mistake if you never learn from it. You know, I don't know if that really ties in to the episode. I mean, yeah, you can make it tie in however you want, but I just thought it was a nice little quote. It allows you and it reminds you to give yourself grace when you make a mistake. You know, it's only a mistake if you never learn from it. It's like, yeah, things happen, things don't always go right or whatever the case is, but just learn from it. But if you don't learn from it, then like, yeah, that's problematic and you might have to keep going through that. But, you know, it's only a mistake if you don't learn from it. I just thought that was so cute. Like, wow. Made me feel warm inside. Anyways, it's been a great, lovely show. Thank you so much to tuning in to the Perfect Prana show on WCRX 88.1 FM, also available on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. So yeah, just thank you to everybody that has listened thus far and that loves and supports me. I really appreciate you and I love you right on back. With that being said, the divine in me bows to the divine in you. Namaste.